FightFans Radio.
All right. Brand new episode, FanAddicts MMA show. I am your host, Erica Lewis. I am joined by my partner, David Wolf. We are actually waiting for Justin Cohee,
that motherfucker,
who decided he was going to drown his sorrows in a bottle of bourbon, has apparently fallen in said bottle, and maybe...
Why is he drowning his... Is he now sad about having that baby?
I mean, that's a lot of responsibility for one person, you know.
It really is.
It really is.
You should have gone for the abortion.
You know, it was a viable option.
I'm not trying to force it on anyone.
I mean, when you voice anything, apparently in this country nowadays, you're apparently trying to force it on others. All right, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I really hope Cohee is getting a busy tone. Oh, you know why? Son of a bitch. That's my fault. That is totally my fault. I completely.
Oh no, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Can we still pretend it's his fault once he gets on?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Hold on a sec. Sorry. Calling you.
Why doesn't he have Skype?
He did at one point, didn't he? I was fairly
I don't know, but why is he calling? That's how we get all that background noise.
I know. Sound like
Let's give him a hard time.
Sound like he's fighting with...
Jesus, it's easier to go on Skype than Twitter.
I don't know about that.
Well.
Don't be hating on the Twitters. On the Twitter sphere. God damn it.
Why don't you have Skype?
So, David, we haven't actually talked since last weekend's premiere of Sons of Anarchy.
Ooh, yes.
So while
I think it was actually Tuesday night, though.
Was it Tuesday night? Oh, whatever. Yeah. I always watch things late. But give us your thoughts on it while I pull up Cohee, and then we can talk about, you know, MMA and stuff.
My thoughts were it was pretty consistent with previous seasons, which is, I look at it as, you know, pure entertainment, which isn't bad, but it's so over the top. I didn't really get into too much until they had the scene where there was vengeance taken for Hope, and I do like the new character. He's a new character, correct? Hope?
Yeah, I like the fact that
I like him.
I like because he used to be on Oz. He was the guy in the wheelchair on Oz.
Really?
Many
I didn't
years.
even recognize that.
Did you watch Oz back in the day?
I watched Oz. Oz was one of the first real TV series to ever. I think that was before Sopranos. I think Oz.
Yeah.
Is really
the originator of
the seminal. Yeah, it's the seminal series as far as real television coming to cable.
And pushing the envelope. That's something that I would.
It got out of control in later seasons, but early on it was good. It made me feel like
you didn't
damn,
think,
I'm in jail.
You didn't think what's his name, Christopher Malone, raping other men in the prison you thought that was too much?
I watched this such a long time ago. I just remember it going really over the top, and I was not satisfied with the series finale.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like the ending, but I didn't like the later seasons. I liked the first 3 seasons.
All right, I'm calling Cohee. That's my fault. I got to fix our phone number, and I just keep forgetting to do it because I'm sleepy all the time.
Hello?
What up, Cohee? Sorry, that is totally my fault, dude. Oh,
no,
wait, no,
it's really not.
It's still your fault.
It's still your fault.
We agreed to still blame you.
Why don't you have Skype, Justin?
I do have Skype, but it's kind of hard to use a computer when I'm in the car.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Jesus Christ.
So you haven't even got
There's
home yet.
Attitude galore in that.
So
Are you drinking already while you're driving? Don't answer that.
No, I mean, well, like, I don't know if and when I'm going to get out of work, so it's hard for me to to carry like my iPad or my computer around to get ready for a show like that. So it's always easy for me to call in from my cell and do it from anywhere.
Right.
It's still your fault, though. Let's be clear.
I blame John Jones.
It's because you're a racist.
You might as well at this point just go ahead and blame John Jones. I mean, everybody else is. All right, so I mean, we've got quite a few interesting things to talk about today. Obviously, still a relatively slow week because we haven't had a card in what feels like forever. But fear not, UFC 152 is next week. I will be leaving to go to Toronto on Friday, so we will talk about the UFC 152 main card towards the end of the show. But let's start off by talking about this UFC 153 bullshit, because that's what I'm going to call it. UFC 153 bullshit.
Colon.
Oh, that wasn't even intended, but I like it. I like it a lot. So we lost our main event, Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar, because Jose Aldo did indeed hurt his foot in that motorcycle accident that apparently he was fine from. He was fine. Just a swollen, infected foot. But other than that, he is good to go, ladies and gentlemen.
At least he's alive.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it could have been a lot worse.
I don't think these guys should be riding motorcycles.
And
didn't we discuss this already? Every time
something
happens like this?
Well, every time we see something where they're like, so-and-so got a motorcycle, or so-and-so on their motorcycle, or, hey, the UFC is giving the tough winners motorcycles. And we're like, really? Of all the things to give them, you can't give them something, else?
An SUV.
Yeah, how about a nice SUV? How about a Honda?
Tank that will survive any crash.
A Honda Fit. They have lots of airbags. Lots of airbags. So we lost Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar, and we also lost Rampage Jackson. We still get to see Glover Teixeira fight, but he's fighting Fabio Maldonado. Am I correct, Justin?
Yep.
So he's the big loser here.
Yeah, I mean this card is
a win
weird.
Over this guy means a lot less than a win over Rampage.
Yeah. So
just a little.
What do you think is going to happen with Rampage? I mean, I know that this was supposed to be his last fight, and now that he's hurt, I imagine it's UFC.
We'll get one more fight for this guy.
I imagine the UFC would not be eager to get to have him back in the octagon.
I disagree with that.
You think they want? I mean, I guess he does still have a draw.
Yeah, he's got a name.
But he's such a
not
pain
only
in the
does he
ass
have
to
a
deal
name,
with.
but and I'm sorry, I'm walking into the wind, so if there's a little background noise, I'm sorry. I think because not only does he have a name, so he sells some pay-per-views, but at the same time, I think they want to embarrass the dude before sending him back in. And I think that's exactly why they set up this fight with Glover Teixeira. Teixeira doesn't really have the big name that Rampage has, but I don't think I'm alone in thinking that they were expecting Glover Teixeira to kind of wipe the floor with Rampage.
Right. I don't know, man. I think you're right. But he is such a pain in the ass to deal with.
Got to get your last fight out of him.
Yeah. I mean, who would you like to see him be? Rescheduled with Kohi?
I don't know. I mean, the 205. I mean, again, is extremely thin. Rampage is. When did Rampage last fight? His fight against Bader?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
right?
That pathetic.
Yeah. So he's coming off a loss. So I mean, do you maybe Shogun if Shogun loses to Alexander Gustafsson? I mean, that's probably the best way to do it.
What about Glover? If Glover wins,
if Glover wins, I think he's beyond Rampage at that point.
It's beyond the Rampage.
I don't know if that's so.
Yeah, I mean it's a stretch because Maldonado isn't exactly the most the highest prize right now, but
Rampage still has a good name, and beating him will still mean something to
what they need to do
that aren't like us.
They need to bring Anthony Johnson back in at 205. That's what they need to do, because that dude is huge at 205, and he is a beast. They need to bring him back. Bring back Anthony Johnson. With that funny looking head of his. He does. He's got a funny looking head. But that's okay, because he's a beast.
I don't know. I mean, like, I would have loved to seen Rampage fight King Mo, but King Mo's over at Bellator and TNA now.
And I heard they squashed their beef. I know you're not into that thing, but that made me so much less interested in watching them fight. Apparently, they sat down and talked it out. What kind of bullshit is that? Talking it out. What is that, David? What is that crap? Talking it out. I don't want you to talk it out. I want you guys to beat each other in the face.
There's no talking it out and fighting.
There's no talking it out.
Probably
peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers. What are we?
I know.
Christians?
I know. What? Well, no. I mean, they've killed quite a few people in time, haven't they? Maybe the Mormons. I don't think the Mormons have killed a whole bunch of people.
Well, there's no point in them like acting like idiots, because when, at least with King Mo was Strikeforce and Rampage was going to continue fighting.
Idiots as in Mormons or idiots as in the fighters, or both?
Are we being disparaging to a religion right now, Kohi? Because I disapprove.
We know Kohi's not.
No, I wasn't talking about religion at all. I was talking about King Mo and Rampage.
Okay, stop it, David.
You're the one that brought up Mormonism. Fuck. The hell you want from me?
So you think that now that King Mo is with no longer with Strikeforce, there's no reason to have that kind of juice?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole time they were just kind of, they recognized that if the two of them got into a little tiff, and then eventually the idea of bringing over the Strikeforce guys into the UFC at some point, there was some cross promotion. Maybe the chance of selling a fight somewhere down the road, but now that there's pretty much zero chance that they're going to fight now, I was like, well, might as well squash it. There's no point in us, people are going to be like, oh, why aren't they, jawing at each other anymore? It's like, well, let's just quote unquote squash this, because there's no point in us jawing at each other anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that you don't have a point, because you definitely do. But I really wanted to see them fight. And I wanted it to be like angry black man fighting. Not civilized, congenial black man fighting. What's up with that?
That sounds kind of stereotypical.
Whatever. Okay, totally is, but whatever.
You wanted Rampage
is
to like you did, more black on black crime. With be like, it's about to be some black on black crime and all that mess.
I do. I absolutely hated that about Rampage. Rampage and his black on black crime stuff. I'm being hypocritical. I really just wanted to see King Mo beat the crap out of Rampage.
Which, yeah, that's pretty much what would happen at this point.
Oh, no doubt. I am actually trying to reactivate our phone number right now. I let it expire because I was being lazy. That's what happens. So,
thanks a lot, John Jones.
Thanks a lot, John Jones, because of you. 153 kind of got all muddled up, and the new lineup is officially being headlined by Anderson Silva versus, wait for it, Stephan Bonnar at 205 pounds. Is this a brilliant matchup by the UFC, or is this a desperate attempt to try and save a card in Brazil? David, give me your thoughts.
Kind of both. I mean, you were put in a desperate situation where you'd have to, I guess the alternative is canceling another pay-per-view. And then at that point, you're going to start looking like you're a company that cancels pay-per-views. You can't count on them. You can't make plans. People that have bought plane tickets and hotel reservations, some of that stuff is non-refundable. So you really can't just go canceling shows every few months. And Anderson was willing to save UFC 151. So I guess it makes all sorts of sense to come to him here and ask him if he'd be willing to fight and save this show. And at that point, you have Anderson willing to fight, and nobody's really willing to fight him except for Chael Sonnen and Stephan Bonnar.
Apparently, Stephan Bonnar.
Yeah, Stephan Bonnar has nothing to lose either. Like, if you have a high-level guy, there's a lot to lose when you go out and lose to Anderson Silva. But Stephan Bonnar will go in there, most likely lose, but it makes no difference. And he has a high-profile fight. And if he did pull off a win, which I think is highly unlikely, he'd be right back in the mix. He did go 3 full rounds with John Jones. He looked better against John Jones than probably anybody has. I don't give him much of a chance here, but I understand why UFC made the call. And though I'm less interested in the show, I'm not going to buy it. Maybe I'll find alternative means to watch it. But it's going to do better than Frankie against Jose Aldo would have done.
Yeah, I agree with you. In terms of pay-per-view buys, at least out of the U.S.
And local interest, too. You got Nog on there, too, right? Little Nog. And you have Anderson Silva now in Brazil.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense from a sports perspective. What the hell is Anderson going in there with Stephan Bonnar? Probably going to look much like James Irvin or Forrest Griffin. But really, that was the best choice because you're not going to put Chael Sonnen back in there again. Although that might have even done better than this. But that was probably going too far because it just came off a sound defeat. This would have been at 205, but I think they felt that might have been too much of a stretch at this point.
Right. So here's my question. If Stephan Bonnar manages to last longer than Forrest Griffin, does that give him bragging rights? I'm not saying if he wins. That's not. I don't think that he's going to win. And as a matter of fact, the betting lines for let me see. What did the betting? Apparently, it was a record
like 16 to 1 or something.
It was something redonkulous. Anderson.
It should be too.
Silva versus Stephan Bonnar.
I think the original line was Stephan Bonnar was like a plus 5,500 or something like that. It's settled out. It's settled out a little bit since then, but that was like the opening line.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was 16-1 favorite for Anderson Silva. Yeah. So it was ridiculous. It was, and I believe that they said that was record breaking for. I'm guessing for UFC. I don't think Stephan Bonnar will win, but can we agree that Stephan Bonnar, at least as of lately, has proven to be a tougher opponent for fighters than Forrest Griffin, who seems to kind of curl up in a little ball if he's hit too many times in a row.
Absolutely.
Well, I think. Well, I don't know. I think there's two things there. Number one, Forrest Griffin has been facing way tougher competition than Stephan Bonnar has, like, as of late. Like, I mean, Stephan Bonnar, I think his last fight was against Kyle Kingsbury. He's fighting guys like Igor Pokrayets, those types of fights. Forrest Griffin's consistently being put in with guys like Rick Franklin or Shogun or something like that. So I think that if we're talking in terms of success right now, it's kind of hard to compare the two side by side considering the level of competition that each fighter's been facing. But I do agree with the idea that Stephan Bonnar at this point in his career is the tougher fighter than Forrest Griffin in that he can take a prolonged beating versus.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was saying. I wasn't comparing.
His head seems to be in it.
I wasn't comparing their success. Obviously, Forrest Griffin is the more successful one. The second part is exactly what I was trying to ask. Was he's physically a tougher fighter than Forrest Griffin at this point?
I think Stephan Bonnar still has his head in the game, and Forrest Griffin, he might be facing tougher competition, but pretty clearly doesn't.
He doesn't like it.
I don't know. I mean, does Stephan Bonnar really have his head in the game? Because right after the win against Kingsbury, he wanted to fight Forrest Griffin again, or he wanted to be the next Ultimate Fighter coaches. And
yeah, because he'd make some money doing that.
And he semi-retired.
He's looking to make money.
So he was only going to do.
I'm in it for the money.
So is this? I mean, is his head in the game, or if he's just taking the money fights?
Well, I mean, there could be a combination of the two.
I mean, can we really say that Anderson Silva isn't in it for the money? He obviously is.
Yeah, you have to be in it for the money.
He's getting paid Anderson Silva money.
He better be getting paid Anderson Silva money for the ass whooping he's going to get, but.
I'm sure he's getting paid well for this fight.
Yeah, and it was an interesting
biggest
point.
payday of his career, probably.
It was an interesting point brought up by, I believe, one of the Untethered guys, that it was Stephan Bonnar's first main event, pay-per-view main event. I don't think he's ever main evented a pay-per-view before.
I'm not surprised. He never really won enough fights to get to that level.
I mean, but let's think about some of the guys who have main evented a pay-per-view. And then let's say that again. I mean, out of all the guys who have, especially as of late.
As of late, though, he's not anywhere near that. You know, when he was decent, you had a lot of guys that were really at least more dominant. It's strange because it's an evolving sport, so these guys are probably even better than they were, 6, 7 years ago. But there were a lot of other choices to go with, aside from Stephan Bonnar, as far as name value, at least, when he was around. You have Liddell, Randy Couture. You didn't need a Stephan Bonnar. Now he's got this main event now exactly because you have a situation where you have so many shows, you need more main events.
Right.
Like then you probably only had 12 shows a year. You don't need Stephan Bonnar main eventing. It's lucky to be on the main card.
And plus even the crappy pay-per-view main events that we've seen over the past, maybe since if we're considering since UFC 90s, somewhere around there. If it wasn't a title fight, then it was either a title elimination or one guy in the main event was one win away from getting the next title shot, that sort of thing. I don't think Stephan Bonner's ever been in that position in his career where he could have said, yeah, I'm only 1 or 2 wins away from getting a title shot.
He lost to Forrest Griffin in the fight that made his name. He lost.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
And then in the second fight with Griffin, he clearly lost that fight and then got popped for steroids right after that.
Yeah, that was not a good look. Can we put it that way? Not a good look.
Not feeling it
for that guy. But okay, so the main event we now know is oh wow, Terrence from Southeast is saying there is no way he would order UFC 153. I don't know.
I'm definitely ordering it. I think it's going to be like watching an old school Japanese Pride card where it's just everything's fun. Nothing really makes a whole lot of sense, but I think it's just going to be a fun night.
I don't know if it's $55 or $60 worth of fun. I don't know. Watching Anderson Silva destroy a random individual, which is pretty much what it is at this point. It's fun for free, but it's not. I can't justify paying money for anything on this show.
Really?
I don't know.
Is Stan Bisping on this card too?
Is what?
Well, I'm one of those guys. That kind of tends to buy more of the pay-per-views, even if there have been some recently that I've skipped just because they weren't worth it. Specifically UFC 147. But I don't know. I really enjoy watching Anderson Silva fight. I'm a big Glover Teixeira fan. Seeing Big Nog versus Dave Herman, I think that's going to be a fun fight. Damian Maia versus Rick Story, John Fitch versus Eric Silva. Isn't Wagner Prado and Phil Davis on the card as well?
Yep. And then they added Dave Herman and Big Nog.
Yeah, I think those are all really entertaining fights to watch. And, just because... And someone made this, I think Dave Meltzer made this point on Twitter. It was okay, maybe the meaningful fights appeal to 10% of the MMA population, fan base or whatever. But it was the kind of fun whatever fights, they appeal to the rest of it. And I think this is one of those cards that's going to appeal to the fun crowd.
I don't disagree. I think it's going to do pretty well. I just can't justify spending money on it.
You can come and watch it at my place, Dave.
I may take you up on it.
Can Dave smoke at your house?
That's not gonna be allowed. So I'll probably stream it. Don't come after me, Dana White. I buy enough of your pay-per-views, pal.
He can go out to his car and then come back in.
So the main event is now 3 rounds, which makes sense. These guys are coming in on extremely short notice to fight. Obviously neither one of them.
You can make it a 10 round. It doesn't really matter. You may as well have made it 5 rounds.
Because it's not going to go past the.
Come on.
It's not going to go past the first round.
I'll be shocked. That's what she said.
What if Stephan Bonnar just knocks out Anderson Silva with a head kick?
That would be
amazing.
Fucking
amazing.
That's
your puncher's chance. I'm not saying he has no chance. Very, very small chance. He's got a chance like James Irvin had. And maybe Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Do you think Bonner's chances are good or better or worse than what Griffin's were?
It's strange because it's such short notice. Who knows where these guys were? And I'm sure they were training all along, but it's different, going into a camp for a fight.
And Bonner is. I know this didn't really work to Forrest Griffin's advantage, and this is also something they mentioned on Untethered yesterday. First off, Stephan Bonner is fucking ginormous. That is a big dude.
A big dude.
He's a big dude, and he is also coming into this fight with a 4-inch reach advantage on Anderson Silva, which is something Forrest did not have. But Forrest did have a full training camp, so that's something. That's huge. That's going to make a huge difference. But I think Bonner will do better, only because of the reason we mentioned earlier, and that being that Stephan Bonner takes a beating a lot better than Forrest does.
Do you think he'll be finished?
I think he's going to be finished quickly. Still.
I guess it depends on what Anderson's feeling. Does Anderson have the capabilities of finishing him early? Yes, but who knows what Anderson's going to show up? It might be the one who likes to shimmy.
Damian Maia Anderson?
Yeah, it might be the one who wants to shimmy and kind of try and make a spectacle of it.
Well,
not the Damian Maia one, because he was just trying to embarrass Damian Maia, but the one that wants to come in and kind of put on a show for everybody. A la...
the Patrick Cote fight where he was just kind of showing off in the beginning.
He was showing off in that fight, and then Rich Franklin and him too, where he was slipping punches with his hands down by his side. He might do
he did that against Forrest Griffin too. That was the sickest. That's still the sickest thing I've ever seen in MMA.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100% on that one. There's not even really anything to say about the co-main event, Glover Teixeira and Who's He What's It?
Maldonado.
That's what I said, isn't it? Who's He What's It? That might as well be his name.
What's his name?
They really...
I'm just excited to see Glover Teixeira fight on a main card. I love the dude. I think he is a beast, and I'm just excited to see, and Fabio puts on exciting fights all the time. So
yeah, you got a good point. Dave Herman and Big Nog, I think that's kind of maybe not a strange matchup, but I just don't think Big Nog's got it anymore, and the UFC is kind of trying to hand Dave Herman a win here. I feel like I just don't think Big Nog can do it.
To me, it's like a poor man's Big Nog versus Heath Herring 7. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. They're trying to hand Dave Herman an easy win here, because I don't know if he's necessarily in the good graces of the UFC at the moment. I almost think that they're kind of setting it up as a fight for Nog to win.
But what do you do with Nog after that? It's not like Nog is not getting any better. He's actually noticeably and increasingly getting worse as a fighter. It's time for him to hang it up. He definitely will not do that. But I don't know. I feel like you're kind of stuck with both of them. If either one wins, you're kind of stuck with this weird situation. You're stuck with Dave Herman, who actually is a very good fighter. But when he's in the cage, he's more outside of the cage, he's more concerned with making fans. And inside the cage, it's the most frustrating thing to watch as a fan, because it feels like if he pulled the trigger, he would be a force to be reckoned with. When he actually does, launch an offense, it's actually pretty impressive. But, the rest of the time, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I didn't have anything to say. Nothing interesting to say.
I want to see Big Nog fight Stefan Struve. That would be
Why would you want to see? That is the weirdest thing to say, Kohi. That's like me saying I want to see Helen Mirren and Justin Timberlake star in a movie together. That's weird. That makes no sense.
You do not talk ill of either one of those people, by the way.
Well, first off, Helen Mirren is my baby mama, even though she is way too old to be having babies. But I think we've had this conversation before. I think we weirded out David in the process as well.
Yeah, I think we did. I don't know. It's like
this fight.
My thing is with Big Nog, what are you going to do with him at this point? Is like you put him in entertaining fights, and I think Big Nog versus Stefan Struve in Japan, like just a little kind of tip of the hat to the Pride fans. I think that falls right into that kind of category, and I think it'd be a fun fight.
Fair enough. I'll give that to you. Other than that, there's some all right matchups on the card. I will actually be in Brazil for this card. My first trip to Brazil. I am not bringing anything of value with me.
Probably smart.
Great. That's our Brazilian fan base.
I might even go buy some two-timer shoes and wear those instead of my regular sneakers. No, I'm just kidding. I'm really not. I just might do that. But I am excited about it, and I want to go see the Giant Jesus, judging everybody from on high. And, I think it'll be a great cultural experience. A great cultural experience. Kohi, get us up to date on some of these new matchups that you were frantically messaging me and David about all week.
Oh, okay. What was the other one? Oh, Alan Belcher versus Yushin Okami rematch at UFC 155, and Chris Lieben will be making his return at 155 as well against Carlos Vemola.
And you seemed pretty excited about the Okami matchup. I made the statement that I thought that was kind of a tough road for Alan Belcher. Not that there's, at this point in his career at middleweight, that there are too many easy fights for him left, and that he even should get an easy fight. I think he's proven to be a hell of a fighter and improved greatly. And you pointed that out to me, that Okami might have been a tough fight the first time around, but the second time around, Okami hasn't improved quite as much as Alan Belcher. What do you think, David? David, do you think that this second matchup between Belcher and Okami will end up different than the first one?
I don't want to say it's definite, but I would count on it. I think Belcher has improved greatly since then, and Okami's still a high level guy, but Belcher's really knocking at a door at a title shot.
Yeah, he really is. He really, really is.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize that their first fight was Alan Belcher's first UFC fight, and Belcher's a young dude. I think he was probably like 20 or 21 at the time that he made his debut, and I will never forget the thrashing he received from Kendall Grove, and it was like one of those things where I just never really expected Belcher to be all that good, despite the fact that he seemed to be pretty high on himself. And then he just kind of, his last 4 or 5 fights kind of came out of nowhere and just really showed that he is loads and loads of talent. Specifically in his last fight against Husumir Balaris, just not only showing great striking, but great awareness on the ground against someone who is probably one of the more feared grapplers in the UFC.
Right.
And then you look at Yushin Okami, and Okami isn't necessarily the same fighter that we saw, back when he was getting booed out of the building during his fight with Dean Lister. Was finally in that fight with, I believe it was Lucio Linares, where Okami showed that he actually had some decent striking, had a decent jab, and again, he showed that against Tim Boas before he got knocked out. But I think that's about the only thing that we've seen Okami really improve on. Yeah, he can be the grinder, but once he takes you down, he grinds you out, but he doesn't really do much else. And
right.
His striking is decent, but aside from his jab, I don't think he really has the power to knock people out. Whereas Belcher can finish you on the mat, and he can finish you on the feet, nowadays at least.
So another middleweight matchup that was made that I think left a lot of people kind of scratching their head. And you didn't mention this, Kohi, but I'm sure you would have, and that's Chris Weidman's next fight has been set up. That will also be at UFC 155, and it'll be against Tim Boesch. For a guy in Chris Weidman with the performances he's had,
Didn't we discuss that last week?
Did we discuss? I don't think we did. Did we? Kohi?
Oh, we did.
Yeah, then both of us remember that. We must have.
Oh, am I the one that's smoking too much pot? Is that what's going on here?
Don't blame it on that. Blame it on John Jones.
I didn't remember us talking about it, but crazier things have happened.
I think it was. I think I kind of remember my argument as to why it kind of makes sense, but I still didn't like it, and I think it was the fact that really there's not a whole lot of other options at this point.
Yeah, that's what I remember too.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we kind of all came to agreement. It was like, yeah, it's not what we want to see, but at the same time, not really a hell of a lot else going on. I don't know. I'd almost rather see. Well, now that because I had said that I wanted to see a rematch between Yushin Okami and Jake Shields, but now that Jake Shields is still available, I would have preferred to see Weidman versus Shields.
Yeah, that would have been nice to knock off Shields. I mean, to see the two of them fight and see Chris Weidman destroy him, because I think he would.
Oh, yeah.
So UFC 155, since I fucked up personally and forgot that we talked about Weidman and Bosch last week, let's talk about the card itself, which is shaping up really nicely right now. As it's going to be in Vegas, headlined by Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez too. I
can't wait for that.
I can't wait for that either. And I know I don't know for a fact that Kohi's gonna poo-poo this idea, but I picked Cain Velasquez in the first fight. I think Dos Santos won fair and square, but I do think that it was a kind of a fluke knockout, and I have Cain Velasquez really just turning it up 1,000% in this second fight and getting his.
Have you guys been watching Fight Factory?
No, I haven't found that weird station you keep talking about. I think you're making it up.
I told you the channel.
Yeah, but that's in Virginia. I think it's a different channel, and I think every county it's different.
Did you watch it, Justin?
No, of course not.
That was great. I love it. He's like, I told you the damn channel. Like he actually looked at it himself. No, you didn't, you bastard.
I certainly took that.
Okay, so we have Tim Bosch and Chris Weidman, of course. Forrest Griffin.
You want to talk about that fight?
Shut up. Forrest Griffin versus Chael Sonnen. Which is not an officially announced fight according to MMAJunkie.com, but I think at this point we can consider it officially announced. Joe Lauzon versus Gray Maynard.
Talking about that fight at all?
I don't think we did, to be honest with you, because I think I like Joe, but Maynard is going to turn him into mincemeat. He's nowhere near the same level, only because he doesn't have the wrestling to stop him. I don't think he can stop Gray Maynard. He might be able to submit him. We do know that Nate Diaz submitted Gray Maynard when they were on The Ultimate Fighter. I think that was obviously the last time Gray Maynard was submitted, because his first loss.
Last time he was finished.
No, his first loss was a knockout to Frankie Edgar. So it was the only time that he's ever been submitted. So I don't know. That was so long ago. I mean, that's obviously.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Joe Lauzon, but I like just picking him blindly every time. And sometimes it works out for me, and then sometimes the Anthony Pettis fight happens. But I don't know. Like, I mean, there have been a couple times where, like, the Melvin Gillard fight or his last fight against Varner. I don't know. I just like picking Lauzon. He's scrappy as hell, and then once he's on the mat, I think he's really, really dangerous.
He proved how dangerous he was in the Jamie Varner fight. Still a hell of a fight, man. That was an awesome goddamn fight. Belcher versus Okami on this card. Philip DeFries and Matt Mitrione. Over under on one or both of them getting hurt.
Hopefully.
And then Lieben versus Vamola, which we mentioned earlier, but. I think it's actually shaping up to be a really awesome card, which means good 60% of these fights won't happen. I think that's.
I think that's almost what the UFC is trying to do now. They have to like load up these cards like crazy because if they start like losing one or two, they don't want to end up in a 151 situation where they have to cancel the whole damn thing.
Are you suggesting the UFC learn some sort of lesson? Because I don't know if I even buy that.
I don't think they're going to cancel a show for a long, long time.
They should. They did. They had no reason to. I mean, as shitty a card as 147 was, when you guys were talking about it earlier, 147 was the first pay-per-view I've missed in years. I mean, years. It has to be maybe not quite 10 years, but close to it. I would probably say like the last 7 or 8 years. It was the first pay-per-view that I missed. And I did not feel like I missed anything. Like, you know, if you have to miss a card, you're like checking on your phone or whatever. I didn't even do that. Like, I was not concerned at all with who won. Not at all.
It was funny because, like, I switch, I often switch over to Fuel TV just to see if they're having, like, some sort of UFC programming on most evenings. They are. And then they do that UFC Reloaded where they'll re-show an entire card, and I'll be like, oh, that's awesome. I'll get to, rewatch some fights that I probably wouldn't think to rewatch. And it was UFC 147, Silva versus Franklin, too. And I was like, nope, I'll watch something else.
Yeah. Let's see if there's something on bio.
I haven't seen one fight from that card, and I never plan to ever watch one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would like to see Verdun versus Russo. I would like to see that.
Really?
I really like Fabricio Verdun.
I mean, he is Fabricio Verdun.
Where the hell is that guy? Why haven't they set up a fight for him?
147 wasn't that long ago. Son?
Well, it doesn't mean he has to fight tomorrow.
I would like him to fight tomorrow. That'd be at least be something to watch, right? Let me see if there's any buzz. I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything.
Maybe if Shane Carwin beats Roy Nelson, he'll fight Shane Carwin. But that's a long.
Do we have to watch Shane Carwin fight that many times? Isn't this his retirement thing?
I was so the Ultimate Fighter debuts tonight, which I completely forgot about, which is something that I know Kohi did not even want to talk about it, but we have to talk about it, Kohi, at least a little bit. I didn't really want to, I will watch it for Frank Camacho. That will be the only reason I'll be watching it tonight. And I'll be like, look, it's Frank, and then I might even turn the station and then come back. I really like the commercials for it, though. Have you guys seen like the new commercials that they have, where they show the guys doing their like regular day jobs, and then it kind of, kind of a montage of different things that they do at their job, and then it switches over to what they do when they're training to fight, and it's actually a really decent commercial. I don't know if it's going to be any reflection of the show, but
I thought the ads were really good, but then a bunch of websites kind of were posting a YouTube video of like kind of what to expect in the house this season. And specifically, there's one dude with like a tribal tattoo and a pink mohawk where he's constantly getting hammered and just like smashing glass on the ground, challenging everyone and their mother to a fight. And they just kind of show that like a bunch of times. It's like they're trying to promote this guy is going to be like the next Junie Browning or something like that.
Oh.
And, that's what kind of disappointed me, because I agree with you, Erica. I thought the new commercials were really well done. I was like, okay, well, that may maybe garner some interest, and then they just showed this like trash reality TV side of it, and I'm like, well, lost me.
And so here's the thing, and we've talked about this on the show before, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, David.
That's just a commercial trying to get you to watch the show. I'm not sure that's going to be the dominant feature of what's going on, and it's drawn ratings in the past, so I could see why you'd want to kind of put that in there and get people to tune in.
Yeah, I was going to say that, they've kind of gotten away from that, and I think that's been part of their detriment. They thought that they could be more sophisticated than that, and the problem is reality TV is not very sophisticated. I mean, look at Honey Boo Boo Child.
Yeah, people like that shit.
They love that shit.
I love Jersey Shore.
I feel like we mentioned Honey Boo Boo every show since the RNC.
That's awesome.
So, I do.
I'm scared for America.
I'm scared for America and its children. When that's a star on television, oh my God. But whatever. So, you know.
Yeah, look who the GOP nominated. I'd rather have Honey Boo Boo.
Apparently,
yeah,
so
before you know it, like Honey Boo Boo's gonna be like the next Sarah Palin, some like retard up there trying to. It's like I can see Russia from Mississippi or something like some dumb shit like that.
She is awfully entertaining to watch, though. I mean, in a purely car wreck kind of way.
Not anymore. Like enough.
No more Honey. I'm talking about Honey Boo Boo, not.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Sarah Palin.
No. No. I think Honey Boo Boo.
She's a car wreck too, but
Honey Boo Boo is the new Sarah Palin. She's still entertaining to watch.
Okay, maybe. Sarah Palin. She's jumping.
That's pretty funny. Where it was like, okay, we're talking about a dumb, uneducated redneck. Are we talking about Sarah Palin or Honey Boo Boo?
I mean, I feel like the conversation can go from one side to the other fairly quickly. So, So okay, again, the Ultimate Fighter tonight. What was I going to say about it? So since they've been kind of straying away from the trashy part of it, they're having a hard time, I think, maintaining viewers. That's kind of why people watch reality TV, isn't it? I mean, how many reality TV shows are sophisticated and make you smarter?
Well, not many.
No.
But my thing is like, how low do you think the ratings for tonight's premiere are going to be?
Low.
Very, very low. I think it'll
under a million.
I think it's going to be record-breaking low. I don't know what the lowest ratings that they've gotten, but I'm thinking really, really, really low.
Low for a debut or like first episode of the season type low.
Yeah. So let me see. The Ultimate Fighter live ratings. So I'm going to see what the ratings were for last season.
I think the first couple episodes will touch like 800,000 or 900,000, and then I think the rest of it's just going to be complete trash. I think it's going to be like negative numbers, like people
negative numbers.
Like people are going to be watching like Static versus watching The Ultimate Fighter.
Come on.
Last season there may have been some initial interest because it was live.
Yeah.
Maybe, and
the problem is
Shane Carwin. Really, Shane Carwin?
The problem that I have so much with they refuse to change the formatting of the show. They know the show needs to be scrapped. They know the show needs to be completely rehauled, and they refuse to do it. And they think that they're getting one over on their fans, which is insulting to us as fans, that they can change something like, oh, guess what? The fights are live. The show itself is essentially the exact same goddamn thing, but we're going to have the fights live. Isn't that exciting? I mean...
Yeah, except the fights are live and we're going to go 15 minutes
that's
over.
That's interesting, but...
Well, great.
As much as I love Apple, I feel like it's very similar to what Apple does. In between, like, major upgrades, they're like, look, we have an all-new iPhone. It now has Retina display. And you're like...
And it has a new charger, you dumbasses. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Now all my chargers are useless. Thank you.
I pre-ordered mine today. I shouldn't have done it, but I totally did. Like, I felt guilty.
I've only had my iPhone since, like, last December or something like that, and I love it. I think it is, that and my iPad are the two coolest pieces of technology I've ever owned. But at the same time, Apple has the same charger for everything, and then the new iPhone 5 comes out, nope, we're gonna completely change it up. I'm like, you dicks.
But it's going to come with the new charger, so you'll at least have one
of them. I have like 3 or 4 of these other ones that are now obsolete.
Do yours fall apart? Because I don't know if we've talked about this before, but mine always fall apart. Like the white.
I know it fall apart, but I'm so annoyed about how short the wire actually is.
Oh yeah, I have like this 1995 extension card that I carry around with mine all the time because it's so damn short. It really is.
That was the one thing I liked about BlackBerry is like BlackBerry came with a charger that had like a 25-foot cord to it, so I could like have it plugged in. I could walk around my apartment, but no, it's like if I'm charging my phone and I'm trying to talk on it at the same time, I'm like got my head against the wall next to the outlet.
And
an extension cord.
Oh.
your smart mouth, David.
So, but just to clarify, the iPhone 5 is the shiznit. Like, that is like the ultimate of ultimate updates from Apple. They always do that. The iPhone 4S, that was garbage. Like, Retina display. Although they did introduce Siri, which I can't wait to introduce myself to that bitch, because we're going to have a lot of fun.
Dude, Siri is the worst.
Is she? Are you two not getting along?
No, because like when I was trying to call in and I kept getting the busy signal, I was like, call David Wolf, and I was like trying to call David, just trying to be like, yo, are you on the show? Blah blah blah. And it actually brought it up on the screen. Said calling, or it like kind of types out what you said.
Oh yeah, you called.
Call David Wolf, and then it just kind of like looped and looped and looped and looped and looped, and finally I just like went into my contacts and called him myself.
The nerve of her actually making you go into your contacts and...
I turned the ringer off before the show because, well, that'd just be obnoxious.
Well, that's what I kind of figured you were like, put your phone on silent in the other room so we couldn't hear it ringing in the background. But I was like, every time I called in, I kept getting the busy tone, so I was trying to figure out what the F was going on.
That was John Jones's fault, though.
Yeah. No, it's totally John Jones's fault. All right, so let's go ahead and just real quick go through, since I will not be here next Friday, there will not be a show next Friday because I will be in Toronto doing my Canadian thing. I'm looking forward to meeting my Canadian brothers and sisters up there. And I mean that literally. I'm looking to see if there are any Canadian black people. So if you're Canadian and black, call me. UFC 152 next Saturday, of course, in Toronto. Canada was pay-per-view. It would be on pay-per-view, FX, and Facebook. Pay-per-view starts at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I think there's some really decent fights on this card, despite the kind of weird main event that we're stuck with between John Jones and Vitor Belfort. But we won't give predictions for these fights. But Seth Baczynski is going to be on the fight, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing him fight. I really like him as a fighter. I think he's grown a lot since he was on The Ultimate Fighter, and then he was released by the UFC, and they've now brought him back, and he'll be fighting a gentleman by the name of Simeon Thorson. So that is a preliminary fight. Evan Dunham makes his return to the cage, and he'll be fighting T.J. Grant. I think that'll be a really amazing fight. Jimmy
Hetz.
Jimmy Hetz. What?
Jimmy Hetz fight.
Marcus
the guy who he fought on the same card as Brock Lesnar versus Alistair Overeem, and he completely just out-grappled and threw Nam Fan everywhere. And it was just hilarious to watch, and it was one of the best. Like, the guy's like a purple belt or something, but he was completely smoked Nam Fan, who's supposedly a black belt. And I'm just he's a friend of a friend of a friend sort of thing, and I'm just super excited to see him fight again. All
right, Jimmy, we're happy to see.
6 degrees of separation already. I could probably find a connection to him as well. Yeah, he's a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend.
Did I tell you?
He's probably been in a movie with Kevin Bacon, so get over it.
Did I tell you that I am 4 degrees separation from Seth MacFarlane? Isn't that awesome? No?
That is pretty cool.
I think that's pretty awesome.
Okay, explain.
So a friend of mine, it's their sibling was the college roommate of Seth MacFarlane.
Huh.
I'm like, that's totally awesome. I don't remember who it was who told me that either. That's really scary. Wow, I really need to stop smoking pot. Like, I have gaps in my memory right now. So we also see the return of Vinny Maga. Oh, God damn it. Do it for me, Kohi. I know you know how to pronounce his last name. This is like the one last name.
I've heard like 15 different pronunciations for this last name, because it's
is that good?
Like Magalesh, like, whatever. Vinny from The Ultimate Fighter.
Vinny from The Ultimate Fighter.
The guy who got knocked the fuck out by Ryan Bader.
Yeah. I mean, if Ryan Bader lands that overhand right, he's going to knock you the fuck out. So, and he's fighting Igor.
God damn, these guys.
I know. I feel like the UFC should.
Is it Igor or Igor? Igor Pokrajak?
Yeah.
Igor Pokrajak, the Duke.
He needs to change his last name to Smith, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, sure. Igor Smith will be fighting Vinny Smith. They're not related.
Yes, I like it. We might actually have to start doing that. We might just start randomly changing people's last names. That'd be great.
Smith,
if we could get...
just Smith. Just throw in Smith anytime you have any question about the last name or first name.
Yes.
Just call him by their, like, whatever their freaking fight name is. Like Igor Pokrats, it's the Duke. Just call him the Duke.
The Duke.
I didn't even know he was known as the Duke.
I didn't either, and Kohi's vast knowledge is starting to scare me a little bit.
Well, the only reason I know that is because every time Bruce Buffer says it, it sounds like the coolest fight name ever.
The Duke. Duke of Earl. That's all that reminds me of.
Yep, you ruined it.
So, Vinny and Igor, or Igor, however he wants to pronounce that, will be headlining the FX card at 8 p.m.
Wait, are you saying Igor because of Young Frankenstein?
Absolutely.
God, I would bro hug you right now if I could.
I love that movie. That movie is amazing.
It's like nice knockers. Oh, thank you.
I like that. Would you like a roll-in, see, hey? I love that movie. That movie's amazing. Mel Brooks, I mean, he's had some stinkers. I mean, he's had some really awful, awful stinkers. But, I mean, Blazing Saddles,
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs, Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, Frankenstein.
Those are amazing movies, and I was talking about Young Frankenstein actually this past weekend with Andre Jacobs from Across the Pond MMA, which airs live on FightFans Radio at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Sundays, and he is from the UK, and he's also like all of 22 years old. But he had never heard no, it wasn't Young Frankenstein, it was Blazing Saddles. He was like, he'd never heard of Blazing Saddles. He just, didn't think that it would be something that he'd be interested in. And I'm like, let me tell you something. Something that crosses generations is Mel Brooks movies, classic Mel Brooks movies. Oh,
I was about to say that. That's something that, like, my dad and I talk about Mel Brooks movies all the time, especially
my grandmother went to school.
Frankenstein, where he dresses him up in a tux.
My maternal grandmother went to high school with him.
What? So we're like, Kohi, you see that, right? We're like we are 2 degrees of separation from Mel Brooks. What is up with that? I'm saying. We're
part of the tribe.
There you go. Of course I know.
She meets him at the monthly meeting.
My God.
I told you about my ex-wife's, her uncle, who told me about this Jew he once knew, like I should know him. It was great. Like, I knew this Jewish fella.
You probably know him.
Yeah, and that was the implication. It was great. I was like, yeah, I don't think I met him. It's so weird.
He's from Israel. You know who he is.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay, Terrence gets
I knew this Jewish fella.
Terrence gets the prize for the day because he just sent me a tweet that said, my cousin's hair braider, sister's baby daddy, brother's cousin is related to shit. I forget. Yeah, because that's kind of how 6 degrees of separation works. But it's fun. It's fun to play, figure out who you. Although the likelihood of me meeting Seth MacFarlane, although he might show up to a fight, I think he might be a fight fan. So maybe one day he shows up to a fight and I get to accost him and make him.
I had a substitute teacher that was like a third cousin to Patrick Swayze one time.
What?
Yeah.
What? That's craziness. Aww.
Yeah, out in Sussex County, Delaware. She even kind of looked like him. She kind of like had his like facial features.
Oh, so that's awesome.
Sort of like Patrick Swayze's brother, who was like Patrick Swayze with an extra chromosome. Am I wrong? It was like Patrick Swayze got all the genetics.
Yeah. Oh no, he totally did.
This guy came out like,
He totally did.
Slightly off. You look like him, but you don't.
Well, it's better than Andy Garcia's brother.
Oh, does he look a hot mess?
No, Andy Garcia was one of those people that was born with he was supposed to be twins, so he had his conjoined twin was still like a fetus connected to his shoulder when he was born.
And he ate him.
Oh, That was gross. That was really, really gross. I don't even know what to do with that. I'm just disturbed.
Like Family Guy did a joke about it. It was like, oh, before Andy Garcia before he got his little his shoulder brother removed, and it's like this little disfigured face going to be like, Andy Garcia's out on a date, and he's like, hey, how about some love for shoulder guy over here?
I'm going to hell.
If you're at a computer, if you don't know what I'm talking about, probably the twin who ended up on the short end of the stick, the worst out of all of them, has to be Ashton Kutcher's brother. He looks a hot mess. I mean, Ashton Kutcher, model, movie star. His brother, not even remotely attractive. I don't know how they managed to do that. I don't know how the genes just ran away from one side to the other. But he's just not. It's very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. My condolences to him. All right, let's get back to the fight. I'm sorry. We are on a tangent over here. That's what happens when we don't have fights for, 3-4 weeks.
Hey, guys, did you know Burger King delivers?
Shut up. I still want to try it. I mean, they'd fuck your order up, but I still want to try it. All right, so starting off the pay-per-view, we have for UFC 152, we have Charles Oliveira versus Cub Swanson. I think it's a really interesting fight. I think it'll be quite the barn burner between the two of them.
It's a Cody's Corner fight, by the way.
Yes, it is. That is a Cody's Corner fight right there. What are your thoughts on who's going to come away with the win on this particular fight, Cohy?
It's a tough fight because Cub Swanson has looked fantastic as of late, both against George Roop and even more so against Ross Pearson. Pearson being the tough guy that he is. But at the same time, I can't help but think of his fight with Ricardo Lamas. So I think Oliveira has enough striking to, stay out of danger while he's on the feet. But he is so good on the ground that if it, touches the mat, I think he's going to win by submission. And I think that's actually how it's going to end. I think Oliveira is going to get the win by tap out.
All right. I really like Cub Swanson, and I want him to win this fight. I think you might be absolutely correct that Oliveira is going to just be a better ground fighter should the fight get to the ground. But I think standing up, I think it may be a little bit more even between the two of them. With Cub Swanson maybe even being a slightly harder hitter than Charles Oliveira, which may prompt Charles to try and take the fight to the ground and get the submission win over Cub. But I think there's going to be a hell of a fight. Unlike the next fight, Matt Hamill versus Roger Hollett. And we actually have Matt Hamill with us right now. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, my God. We are terrible people. I apologize for how terrible we are as people. As human beings, we are fairly horrible.
Okay, two things about Matt Hamill. One, you could put Young Frankenstein's monster on the line and it would sound exactly like Matt Hamill. Two. Yeah, exactly. And two, Bloody Elbows headline that said that Matt Hamill heard the
call of fighting.
The idea that they heard the call to come back, and I was like, Matt Hamill didn't hear shit.
Oh God, we're so going to hell.
Oh, there is a special place in Hades for all of us. I have nothing against. Let's just point out we have nothing against Matt Hamill. He seems like
deaf people.
Or deaf people. Yes.
We apologize.
Yes,
Yeah, to all our deaf listeners, I'm sorry.
Oh
wait, those shows are subtitled, right? Closed captioning.
Oh my God!
You got the subtitle set up, the closed captioning.
Oh my God! I can't even answer that because no, I don't know what to do because that is just awful. We are awful people. Again, I apologize for the insensitivity that you're hearing on our show. We are normally a very accepting group of individuals. Never have anything bad to say about any particular group of people.
Except Asians.
The occasional Asian joke. But, it's all good-natured. So, I don't know anything about the dude that Matt Hamill's fighting. Roger Hollett? Holla. Oh, where did I start? Kohi? Where did I start?
I'm going to translate. I think he said it's Roger Hollett.
Ah.
I mean, it was Roger Hollett, and then it was Vladimir Matyushenko, which was a better fight, and now it's back to Roger Hollett. Okay, David, you're done.
So what happened to Vladimir Matyushenko? What happened? Did he get hurt? Did I miss an injury?
He tore his Achilles tendon. Maybe he's done fighting forever.
Holy shit! How did I miss that story?
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone made a big deal of it. I think they said Matyushenko's injured. He's out of his fight with Hamill. But what very few outlets actually said that it was like he tore his Achilles tendon, which is like one of the worst injuries you could possibly have.
Wow.
Are we announcing his retirement for him?
I mean, I don't want to go that far, but that's serious. Your Achilles tendon? That's
no bueno.
That sounds fucking awful.
Is there any way we could blame John Jones?
Probably. Let's blame John Jones. I mean, he is in the same division, so.
Same weight class. I was about to say that.
Yeah, let's.
Really good, John Jones. Yeah, they did fight, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
I vaguely recall Jones wiping the floor with him.
Yes.
And Matyushenko has fought, Jones has fought both Hamill and Matyushenko.
Wow.
You lost him at Hamill.
Yeah, you did.
Oh my God. So, okay, I mean, it seems like such a clusterfuck of fights over here. I mean, can we even try and figure out an adequate prediction for that fight? I mean, first it's somebody, then it's somebody else, and then it's back to the original person, and then Matt Hamill can hear, and then he can't hear, and then he can hear again, and then he can't hear again. I don't understand what's going on.
No, he's never heard anything.
Oh, okay. I thought he heard the call to fight back, to fighting.
Well, no, he didn't hear. No, he did not hear that. He may have felt it or saw it, but he didn't hear it.
We're awful people.
No, I mean it's really difficult to give an intelligent prediction here. I've never seen Roger Hollett fight in my life. I have no idea what sort of skill set he walks into the cage with. But at the same time, last couple times we've seen Matt Hamill fight, didn't look great.
No, he really did not.
Granted, he was fighting Rampage Jackson and Alexander Gustafsson, who are two fighters who are way out of his league. Even with Rampage being toward the end of his career. And then Hamill recognizing that and retiring for a bit, I think that kind of points to where he even sees where his skills lie.
He was so limited before he retired. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I can't imagine that he's really bulked up a bunch of new and interesting techniques.
Exactly. Like, I mean, yeah, is he good enough to beat guys? Like, I mean, he beat Tim Boach at 205. Beat guys like Reese Andy, and won some other fights that were very, very winnable to him. I'm guessing Hollett maybe falls under that sort of classification, given that it's his first fight in the UFC. But at the same time, John Jones made his debut or his second fight was against Stephan Bonner, and I remember telling my friend, it's like, oh yeah, Stephan Bonner's a veteran, he's actually pretty decent. John Jones has fought nobody, and then John Jones threw him around the ring for 3 rounds, and I lost my friend like $300. So, I mean, it's really tough to say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean...
David, do you know anything about this Hollett guy?
Matt might. I don't. I think Matt might be able to, but I don't know if he'll understand him.
God damn it, David.
Matt.
Fine, just go. Just
What do you know
do
about
what
your
you got to
vote?
do.
I'm gonna win this fight. Yes, sir. I think he said he's gonna win this fight. Yes, you are. Yeah. All right. I'm going with Matt Hamill.
Oh my God.
You know, I'm not gonna pick someone else, even if he can't hear me. He's sitting right here, but still, come on. He reads lips. Yeah.
Okay, probably
Yeah, I picked you. Well,
the most interesting fight of the card, in my opinion, Michael Bisping and Brian Stan.
I agree, but Benavidez Johnson's interesting too.
I mean, it is in the sense that it's the first flyweight title. Yeah, I get that, but I really am, at least personally, let me put it that way. Personally, I'm much more interested in the Michael Bisping Brian Stan fight. The winner of this one will probably end up being the number one contender. And of course, it also depends on performance. If it's a crappy performance by both men, then that will likely not happen. But what are your thoughts on this fight, David? And who are you picking to win?
Ooh, I'm gonna pick Bisping.
Bisping.
Yeah, I give Bisping at least a slight edge in everything except maybe power. Stan certainly, can knock him out, but I think Bisping might want to try to take it to the ground. So that seems to definitely be Brian Stan's weakness. But it should be a good fight. And if it stays standing, I'm still going to go with Bisping. I think he's a more technical fighter. But, the longer it stays standing, the more chance Brian Stan has, I think.
All right.
But Bisping doesn't have highest level wrestling, but it's decent. And I don't think Stan's is even decent or hasn't proven to be at this point. Maybe I'm forgetting something. Smoking too much weed too. Did Brian Stan do anything with some jiu-jitsu or wrestling that I'm totally forgetting and not giving him credit for?
I mean, he had a triangle finish. I mean, it's not that he doesn't know jiu-jitsu. He definitely does. He's not as good as some of his counterparts. Let me look it up. I can actually tell you that right now. Brian Stan, looking all handsome.
The triangle check over Mike Macenzio, but he's also been submitted by Krzysztof Stoshinsky. He's been submitted by Chael Sonnen.
Yeah, once he's getting to that level, and come on.
I mean, let's be fair. Those are the only two submissions that he has. Two submission losses he has on his record. Is one to Krzysztof Stoshinsky and one to Chael Sonnen. And the Stoshinsky one was at 205. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if that
really. I'm still going with Bisping, even though I don't like him.
I think it's probably smart to go with Bisping. I'm hoping Stan wins, but I think that's probably going to be my pick as well.
Do you think Bisping will try to take it to the ground, or is that just wishful thinking?
He might. He really might. I don't know if I don't know. He might find himself. I mean, he's not the ground tactician that Chael Sonnen is. So.
Yeah, but Stan punch him once really hard, it'll be pulling a Dan Henderson.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I don't know. I feel like that one's kind of it's a tough call to make. Who are you picking, Kohi? Are you going with the Bisping?
Bisping.
Unfortunately, I'm going with Bisping. God, and I even sent Erica a message about this today, or both of you a message today. It was how sick I am of what Bisping has to say about the 125ers being ahead of him on the card and whatnot. And I even tweeted him, and he never responded to me. But I tweeted him. I was like, "Well, win a fight and get a title shot, and you'll be on the main, or you'll be at the top. But until then, shut up." But I agree with what a lot of what David had to say. I think Bisping definitely lacks power in his strikes because he really pulls his punches. He doesn't throw anything with authority. But at the same time, he's much more technical, and I think in the Chael Sonnen fight, Bisping really impressed a lot of people, both with his offensive and defensive wrestling. And I really specifically remember back at, I think it was UFC 105 against Michael Bisping versus Dennis Kang. Dennis Kang, is not the greatest fighter in the world, but, at the time came into the UFC with a decent amount of hype and took Bisping down several times in the first round and advanced his position, and Bisping was really, really good about getting back into guard.
Yeah.
something that's really subtle to a lot of MMA fans is seeing someone actually, they see the guy improve his position, but they often ignore the fact that the guy on the bottom gets back to guard. And I thought that shocked the hell out of me because I didn't know Bisping had that in him. And I agree with David. If Bisping decides to take this to the mat, I think he'll have a serious advantage on top against Stan. I don't believe we've ever seen Michael Bisping submitted ever.
No.
I don't know if a submission is really likely at all. I think this is I really like Brian Stan. I think he's got a great story behind him, and I think, when he wins impressively, but at the same time, I think his story, exceeds his actual, and his hype exceeds his actual skill. Like, yes, he can beat guys like Mike Macenzio and Alessio Sakara, but you put him in there with guys like Chael Sonnen and Michael Bisping, I don't think he's at that level. And I think Michael Bisping will probably cruise to a decision in this fight.
All right. That was rude.
I'm going. Sorry. Oh, I wasn't trying to be rude.
I'm going with Brian Stan. No, I'm going with Bisping, but I really want Stan to win, and I think Stan is perfectly capable of winning, considering Bisping's past problems with getting hit really hard in the face. So we have our first flyweight title in the UFC. Who's excited?
I definitely am.
I'm excited, I guess.
Should be a great fight.
Joseph Benavidez versus Demetrius Johnson. Just based off of the performances for the fights to get to this point, I got to go with Benavidez. Benavidez is nasty. He's a nasty wrestler. He's super strong. Of course, he comes out of Alpha Male, Team Alpha Male, and he's really going to just, I think he's going to really bring it to Demetrius Johnson in a way that Johnson is not going to be used to or comfortable with. Johnson's very, very fast, don't get me wrong, but I just really don't think, I just don't really see Johnson really being able to have the power or the skill set to defeat Benavidez. What do you think? Go ahead, David. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I can't really add much to what you just said. I think I don't think he'll finish Mighty Mouse. Both these guys will last the full 5 rounds. But I think Benavidez is better in every category, especially in wrestling. I think we'll probably see Benavidez taking and keeping Mighty Mouse down quite a bit.
What do you think, Kohi? Are you sharing with the rest of the kids today and going with Benavidez?
Yeah, I actually am. You guys pretty much said anything I had to say on that. And on top of that, I think neither guy packs a whole lot of power in their punches, but if anybody was going to finish it on the feet, I think it would be Benavidez. He's finished guys like Ronnie Yahya and I'm going to blank on the Japanese fighter he just knocked out recently. But he's definitely got the more power in his hands. I think he's Smith. A little more savvy with submissions as well. I mean, the Team Alpha Male guys are always jumping on that guillotine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's, like you both said, I think Benavidez is just a little bit better in all areas. And, when it comes to MMA, if you're the better fighter, chances are you're going to win.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much that can be added to that. I really think I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be a great scrap. I think the stats people are going to probably want to blow their own brains out after that fight, to be honest with you. I think these guys are going to be moving at lightning speed. So I think all three of us picking Benavidez win that fight. We'll see if Terrence has anything to say. Come on, Terrence.
Terrence from Georgetown. What's going on?
Terrence from Georgetown. Terrence from Northwest. No, I don't see anything from him. He needs to...
Terrence from DuPont.
DuPont. Yeah, DuPont used to be like the gay part of DC, but it's not really anymore. It's more like young, white.
I think it's a nice mix, actually.
I mean, I would disagree that it's a nice mix. I think
it depends on what parts of DuPont you go in.
I mean, we're already talking about a pretty small neighborhood. Are we now dividing that up into quadrants?
I'm from Delaware. Every neighborhood's big to me.
No, I mean it's not. I mean DuPont is not especially huge, and it's really starting to become more of a young white married hipsters kind of place than anything else now.
I mean,
that's not to say you can't.
Like
you can find
Lucky Bar and Mad Hatters and all that kind of stuff is.
That's not to say you can't still find plenty, bountiful gay bars, but that's like at night. Like at night, the freaks come out, and then like during the day, you're like, what's up with all these baby carriages out here, and these couples all holding hands and crap? Y'all making me sick.
The Fox and Hound in DuPont is probably my favorite bar in DC that I've been to. And every time it's kind of off the beaten path. It's not along the main strip where Mad Hatters and Lucky Bar and all those kind of places are. So I think that's kind of tends to be the area where maybe the gay community is kind of pushed out to, where it's a little more quiet, a little nicer, versus like drunk college kids puking everywhere.
Terrence has just sent me a message. He says, "You guys are funny. It's still gay." Terrence, I disagree with you. All the gay dudes, they're the ones that are really working hard on the what do they call it in urban areas when they where the white folk come in and make it nicer?
Gentrification.
Yes. The gay dudes will come into the crappy ass neighborhoods real quick, plant some flowers, mow some lawns. Good to know you can still find a good man in DuPont Circle. And Terrence wins again. Terrence is kicking our ass in jokes today. He really is. How is that possible? Stop it, Terrence. You're making us look bad.
Maybe that's why the drinks at Fox and Hound are so cheap.
Is that what it is? Oh,
well, I mean, they have a nice patio area, so I'd go with a bunch of friends. You order a gin and tonic. They bring you, like, a little smaller than a pint, and it's full of gin, and it's just gin on the rocks. And then they give you, like, a little bottle of tonic on the side. So you have to, like, rip, like, 3 or 4 shots of gin before you can actually make a drink.
I'm starting to think maybe Kohi has a drinking problem, David. Are you starting to sense that?
Yeah, perhaps.
Don't make
12 steps. 12 steps. Don't trip on that. 12.
Don't make me call A&E on you, Kohi. Kohi? Did we lose?
Yeah, it's definitely got a drinking problem.
I was thinking because I really love that intervention TV show, so that'd be kind of cool.
Kohi's like, it might be kind of cool to be on the show. I wonder if people ever fake it.
It was so bad because in undergrad, like I'm living with, my 4 best friends in the world, so, like typical college dudes, just get a bunch of cases of beer, drink a bunch, stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning drinking. And then, like, on Sundays, A&E would run these marathons of intervention, and we'd sit there and be like, are we all alcoholics? Do we have a problem? Like, is this weird?
Dave Meltzer just included in his update. I just find this strange. Chael Sonnen is in full training camp and will be the replacement if Vitor Belfort gets injured in the next few days to face John Jones on 9/22 in Toronto. Is there something to that?
No, I think it's Chael Sonnen trying to make something out of nothing.
Well, actually, like, as often as Vitor Belfort gets injured, I think that's almost a smart decision on Chael Sonnen's part.
Yeah, oh God, I really hope that doesn't happen.
I mean, we saw how long it took to get to Anderson Silva, Vitor Belfort, and then, Vitor Belfort broke his hand before the fight against Vanderlei.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It's not uncommon.
Real quick though, let's talk about the main event. Sorry, yeah, I know, right? Let's talk about the main event. John Jones, Vitor Belfort. Who are you going with, Kohi?
Oh God. We're actually gonna go through asking each other who we're picking.
I mean, he could be picking Belfort. He could be putting like $20 on Belfort.
Oh, I thought we all were going to. I'm sorry. Isn't John Jones a pussy?
Okay, so I guess the better question is, does Vitor Belfort even remotely have a chance to win this fight?
Yes, because the dude hits like a goddamn truck. But I think John Jones he's gonna have a very, very noticeable size and reach advantage. I think
what is the reach? Does anyone know?
Let me look it up. I'll look it up.
Well, John Jones, like if most people, with your wingspan, that's supposed to be equal to your height. With John Jones, with his wingspan, his height should be close to 7 feet tall because his arms are that long.
So
he's a genetic freak.
Belfort.
How could Vitor Belfort close the distance?
Belfort is 74-inch reach, and I can never remember.
Jones has got to be in the 80s.
It is. It's definitely.
Yeah, it's 82.
Is that what it is? Is 82?
Yes, 82.
That's crazy. Like he's gonna I think John Jones is gonna come out. I think it's gonna be a very reminiscent of
84 and a half is what they have.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. 84.
It doesn't matter. 82
and a half?
82, 83, 84 and a half. You know what it all spells out for Vitor Belfort?
You can't close the distance. Not like that. I mean, then he's gonna get kneed and all sorts of shit and choked unconscious if he gets too close.
For some reason, I have this visual in my head of John Jones in full mount knocking Vitor out with elbows.
That's what he did to Hamill, right? Basically.
Well, between
and what he did to Brandon Vera, if I remember, was an elbow.
Yeah, the Vera elbow was the most sickening sound I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
What?
I feel like he'll toy with Vitor and like maybe 1 to 2 rounds, just kind of jabs, elbows, spinning crap. His little kick where he stomps on your knee.
Why are you pressing buttons on your phone?
Third round, he throws Vitor on his back and finishes him.
He was pressing buttons so that he was bleeping himself out.
Self-censorship.
Okay, so, all right, real quick before we close out the show, I just wanted to announce, I just saw on the interwebs that Dan Henderson and Lyoto Machida are targeted for fighting each other for the number one contender match for the light heavyweight title.
I was just thinking that would.
What the fuck are you doing?
He keeps cussing and he's beeping himself.
Am I Skyping out?
No, you were beeping. You're like hitting the buttons on your phone, which is weird because it's a touchscreen phone.
I'm on a cell phone. There's no buttons for me to push.
I've done it before, dude. It's really weird. I've done it before. As a matter of fact,
I'm looking at it. My keypad isn't even up.
I don't know what to tell you.
You're doing something, dude.
It's weirdness. Maybe it's me.
Maybe
it can't be. But whatever.
It's John Jones.
It is. It's John Jones. Son of a bitch. He needs to leave us alone. All right, guys. I have nothing else to say about anything about any fighting. I'm done. You guys got anything else to add before we go ahead and close out the show?
I'm done.
Are you done, my
friend? I got nothing.
You got nothing? Do you got nothing?
I got nothing.
You got nothing. What is that?
Terrence, I'll see you on M Street in Georgetown tonight.
Yes, Terrence. Terrence will likely be in Georgetown. What the hell's going on?
He'll be at Rhino Bar with the rest of the Georgetown undergrads.
He probably will be. All right, guys. So we're closing out the show. We'll be back not next Friday, but the Friday after next. Here on FightFans Radio.
Tell our listeners what today's date is.
Oh, it is September 14th, 2012. Way too late. We are awesome. All right, guys. I will talk to you later. Peace.